up all? So in this video I want to talk about ignorance in terms or in reference to ADHD. Now by ignorance what I mean is not just misconceptions, because as I've said in previous videos there are a ton of misconceptions about ADHD still circulating, still well known to people and often believed to be fact instead of a misconception, and that's part of the ignorant side of things. But being ignorant isn't in and of itself a bad thing, you know, because let's face it, everyone is ignorant about something. Basically, it just means something that you don't know or you haven't learnt about, and that's the point of raising awareness. That's the point of talking about it more. I mean, there are plenty of people with ADHD or autism who feel awkward talking about the condition, usually because of, well, either they themselves struggle to manage the diagnosis or to manage the symptoms, and they don't know how to express themselves, or in cases where it's based more on reactions that they've had in the past, usually negative ones, or negative interactions they've had with people based on their disorders. And I can totally understand that. You know, if you don't want to talk about it, if you don't want to tell people you have it, that's completely fine, that's your choice. But it's still very important just to try and alleviate some of these misconceptions and some of these ignorant situations. Because again, I don't really hold people at fault when they're ignorant about something, so long as they're interested in learning about it, so long as they're open-minded, you know? What I don't like is when someone is ignorant and they just don't want to listen to someone who might have more insight into the subject they're ignorant about, because to me that's being very close-minded, and there's a word for it, but it won't come to mind. So if anyone can think of what they'd call that, put that in the comments. But anyway, let's just get into it. So I want to talk about ignorance. Now, my issue is, a lot of the time in my life when it comes to situations where my ADHD has been most obvious, I suppose, to people, or especially to people who know a thing or two about it, is there's been lots of situations when there's been accusations thrown around or assumptions thrown around that just aren't true, and it's caused some very frustrating and stressful situations for me personally and people I know. And the problem with that is, so long as no one is talking, or so long as no one is interested in learning more, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and that's what needs to be fixed. So one very common situation I tend to have is activities. Now, if you have ADHD, yes, you struggle with concentration and attention and all of that, but at the same time, you can show like a sort of hyper-focus when you finally get stuck into a task, especially something like a task or activity that you really, really enjoy or you feel really invested in. Now, as for an example from myself, that would be, say, writing one of my books. I'm writing a couple of novels at the moment. I'm writing actually a couple, not just one, because for a change of pace and because I do get distracted, I tend to change from novel to novel. Write so many words for this one, move on to the next one, so it's always new. I never get bored and I hardly end up in a moment of writer's block. But anyway, now, there are times, though, when I'm struggling to find the words that I want or in the order that I want when I'm writing, and it can become very difficult, take me much longer than it should. So when I enter a stage of hyper-focus, when suddenly it just comes to mind and I'm there, I'm like in it, I am zoned in, it's me and the computer and nothing else. When that happens, I won't be aware of people talking to me. I won't be aware of someone shouting my name from across the room. They will have to shout and shout and shout as much as they like. And on occasions, it's like if it's one of my brothers, they'll have to come over and like smack the table by me to get my attention. Now, here's the thing. I understand when someone wants your attention and you're not giving it. And it's not like you're zoned out. Well, not zoned out. It's not like you got earphones in or you're asleep or anything like that. And you're not responding at all, you know, because it's very common that even when you're hyper-focused on something, if someone's calling you, you'll turn around, you'll say, give me a second. I won't even do that. I don't know they're there, basically, right? And I can understand how frustrating that can be. But on my end of things, what happens is, as soon as my concentration is broken, it's like, I understand why, I understand where I've gone wrong, but at the same time, it's like I am filled with this intense sense of almost anger, I suppose, or frustration or annoyance, because the best way I can put it into words is like, think about it when you know you're not great with your attention, when you're struggling to concentrate or focus on certain things, even when you really, really want to, and finally you get into that zone, finally you're there, and then you're forcefully snapped out of it. It can be not just jarring, but it's like, it's almost like feeling like you've been cheated. It's like, no, I was there, I had it, I was ready. It's like someone just about to complete, I don't know, a pyramid of cards, and someone comes along and knocks one of the bottom cards really gently, maybe they didn't mean to, and the whole thing comes falling down. That's the kind of frustration I'm talking about. Because, and when I talk about ignorance, what I mean is on the side of someone who's trying to call me, and like I said, I get the frustration, but at the same time, it's hard to express to them, to understand that when I'm in that state, I really do just need my space. I don't mean to be ignorant. I don't mean not to respond. I really, really don't. And if they really need my attention with something, I would much prefer, say, a light tap on the shoulder or someone coming over and talking to me gently. I'm going to notice them there. They're right there. It's kind of hard not to. Than, say, a shout from across the room or a smack on the table where I am, because that aggravates me. It's almost like a sharp sound, you know, or a sharp movement, and it just triggers you. If they tap me on the shoulder, I would respond to them and I would tell them, oh, give me a second, please, I'm really in the zone, you know? And those areas, I think, need to be understood more and have less ignorance about them, because it can be really frustrating if you're someone with ADHD who's trying to express these things, who tries to carry themselves day in, day out as a really polite person or well-spoken person or very considerate person, and then say if a similar thing happens in school or in the workplace, and you get accused of basically just being ignorant or being a bit of a jerk, I suppose, that it's not nice having that accusation thrown at you when that is not how you are on a daily. It's just in that moment because you were zoned in. Now, those kinds of ignorances are more subtle, you know, they're more nuanced than, like, bigger misconceptions and stuff, like people with ADHD can't learn, or people with ADHD are just manic, when that's not really the case. It's less obvious, but even so, it's just as important to talk about, if that makes sense. I think it does. So, yes, so when it comes to, like, ignorance and stuff, it's that, but it is also things like I said, the more severe misconceptions, you know, usually to do with, like, the learning difficulty side of things, because, again, just having a disorder or being neurodivergent or anything like that doesn't mean you can't learn. It just means you learn differently, your brain works differently, and you may struggle in certain areas more than, say, someone who's neurotypical. You know, but that's okay, because, like, everyone struggles with one thing or the other. It's just a matter of finding what works for you and how you can learn more effectively, and so on and so forth. So that's what I meant, because there are also little subtler, nuanced ignorances out there that I think need to be addressed. Anyway, now that I think about it, I think it's a much bigger subject to talk about than just, like, for an under 10 minutes video. So I think in one of my next videos, I'll lay it out almost like a bullet point, and I'll go through it, like, a few little experiences or examples, just so then I can just be a bit more clear with it. But besides that, if you liked the video, because I'm about to end it here, then please leave a like, follow, put comments, you know, questions in the comments, requests for any subject matters, topics, whatever, thoughts and opinions, like I said, put those in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're interested, and repost the video because, well, just cause. Anyway, and that's it, I think, for today. So hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, bye.